Talk to me about how you feel with Michigan fans. Some people say, well, hey, don't just hire the guy who can keep the transfer portal from being a mass exodus in the next 30 days. Like, we could go get the best coach available. And you've heard Brian Kelly's name for the last few weeks and stuff like that.
No shot.
But when you talk about like giving this guy a chance just from everything that Michigan has accomplished these past 3 seasons, and with him being such an integral part, don't you see this? This is more than just, oh, you were a good staff member on a really good team with Jim Harbaugh, so we'll just give you a shot. To me, I think like Sherrone Moore can have success at Michigan.
Well, I mean, keeping guys out of the transfer portal is just one of the many things that positives for Sherrone Moore. Again, the man was the head coach against Ohio in huge games this past offseason. You cannot put that into numbers. You cannot emulate that with anybody else that was the head coach at the University of Michigan without technically being the head coach. Second thing, he's your play caller on offense. You keep the same system. You keep the same terminology, which is humongous when you're having to transition between new head coaches. So you don't have to change anything offensively. You're going to have new personnel, but you're not having to learn a new system. You're not having to change people's body types like Rich Rod tried to do when he took over at Michigan when you were there.
I remember.
And then also, the transfer portal part of it is nice, but I will go back to, if something is working, there's an old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And right now, what Michigan is doing is working.
Yeah.
But I'll use the quote I used in the open. Just because the head chef leaves doesn't mean the recipe disappears, right? So again, we hear the blueprint. We hear this talked about all the time with Nick Saban and these guys that teach, the Kirby Smarts and the Steve Sarkisian, who, by the way, is the only coach who made the playoff that's returning to college football next year. I don't think a lot of people know that now that Harbaugh's gone. Saban's gone. DeBoer's going to Alabama. I'm talking about that was at his same place. Yeah. Sark is the only one who's at his same place. So, no, I think there's so many, and it has nothing to do with the race. I don't want to hear anything about, it's so amazing that we're going to hire a guy that looks this way. Sherrone Moore has earned this because Sherrone Moore is a damn good football coach.
Yeah.
And he's in the system. You don't have to change the system or the recipe, which is huge. I'll use the word again. Continuity, 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 continuity. When everything else is changing, right? And some people are stubborn, like Dabo Swinney, that don't want to change. We have all these different type of mindsets going on. The one thing that helps an 18 to 22-year-old more than anything is stability. Why do we talk about having the nuclear family, right? Having a mom and a dad. What does that help you with? Stability, continuity. You know what to expect. You know what's expected of you. And to me, that is worth its weight in gold, in absolute gold, in maize. Let me put it that way. It is worth its weight in maize to be able to have a guy that understands how it works. The players know what they're getting. I'm sure they're going to be as excited as anybody. You've
already seen Zach Zinter.
We saw this with Marcus Freeman.
Yeah.
We saw something similar. You saw
That's
the way
a good comp.
Yeah, we saw the way the players responded to Marcus Freeman. Why? Because he's in there with them. They don't got to come in here, oh, hi, my name's this, my favorite color is this, my favorite food is this. No, he knows you.
That's a great comp because Marcus Freeman hasn't won a national championship with Notre Dame since he's taken over, but the floor has been fairly high and the ceiling, the possibility of a high ceiling is there for sure. That's why I agree with you, and I view this situation entirely different than Alabama. You shouldn't elevate someone who's on staff just to do it, and you shouldn't go for an outside.
No, Tommy Rees shouldn't have got that job.
Exactly. If Kirby Smart was on that staff, he would have been the heir apparent. If Steve Sarkisian was still on Alabama's staff, he would have been the successor. Those guys weren't. They went out and did the next thing, which is hire the best coach available, which I think they got a really good one in Kalen DeBoer. Michigan's situation was just different, and I say that understanding that Michigan could go 8-4 next year. They have one of the top 5 toughest schedules in the country with this senior class that came back to win a championship and did it. Those guys are leaving, and guess what? Going 8-4 after a national championship year, that's the status quo. That's normal, not what Kirby Smart and what Nick Saban have been doing for the last 10 years. It's so that's just how I see it.
Yeah, and I want to get to the Booster Club, but I do want to say Jim Harbaugh might have gone 8-4.
Sherrone Moore may catch a lot of strays from just the reality of the circumstance next year, just the way Kalen DeBoer may catch a lot of strays at Alabama for a changing landscape in college football that may have democratized even Nick Saban's teams.
No, without a doubt.
Morning, guys. It's definitely bittersweet morning today with what happened last night. I've been mentally trying to prepare for something like this to happen, and it's like you guys said. It's you had that one beautiful night with that girl, and then next thing you know, next morning she's gone with the rose and the letters. So
I think it's bigger than that, though. It's bigger than one night.
Yeah,
I mean, look, Jim
4
Harbaugh
months
could.
abroad.
I don't know. Depends on what happened that one night.
Yeah,
That's
you're
true.
in Paris for 3 months.
Well, look, Jim Harbaugh, honestly, I mean, we've seen this Jim Harbaugh to the NFL cycle happen every single offseason that he's been there. He could have taken the Vikings job probably 2 seasons ago, right? He could have taken a job last cycle before he won a national championship. Yeah. At least Michigan got that. At least they got that. And the fact that he waited until he accomplished that, it says a lot about him. The guy wants to win a Super Bowl, and Michigan can't.
Well, let me ask you this, Michael, as a Michigan fan, if I would have told you 3 years ago that Jim Harbaugh in 3 years is going to win the national championship with where y'all were before it kind of turned around. Jim Harbaugh in 3 years was going to win a national championship, but leave y'all to go to the NFL. I guarantee you'd have taken it on the spot.
I would have asked you I don't know what you're taking, but give me some of that. Because
yeah, that's exactly.
I would have taken it. Yeah, me too.
But I was going to say, I think for all Michigan fans, young and old, these last 3 years have definitely been the best 3 years that this is probably the most fun we've ever had as football fans with what we've experienced. Now, Jake, you were talking about continuity, and I agree with you. And there's one name that hasn't been mentioned yet that we're keeping. It's Ben Herbert, the strength coach.
Yeah.
Harbaugh said he's, quote, the heartbeat of the program. He's signing an extension to stay at Michigan. So
that's a great point.
Those two and Jesse Minter, those three guys are the key to keeping this train going.
I don't think Jesse Minter will stay. I don't think Jesse Minter will stay, but I'm so glad you saw the strength coach news.
Well, what other normal-looking white guy do y'all got waiting in the wings to just be great at calling defense?
I hope somebody from the Baltimore
Ravens.
They're
like, hey, don't worry, guys. We got Trevor Smitherson.
But the strength and conditioning coach and that whole staff and support staff, it shouldn't be underestimated, because when Rich Rodriguez came in when I was there, after having coached, after having played for Lloyd Carr, everything changed. I mean, the training staff maybe stayed the same, but there were new strength coaches, right? There were new position coaches. He came in and everybody was new, and that really takes a toll in the building.
Yeah,
it does. And David, I know you mentioned don't be mad at Ward Manuel, and I'm not as mad as I was yesterday, but there was a report from one of the local journalists who said that Michigan finally, at quote the 11th hour, was going to give Harbaugh what he wanted, not really the money, but also that protection from any sanctions that were to come down. But by the time they agreed to it, it was too late. Harbaugh was already negotiating his deal with the Chargers. So Ward definitely dropped the ball on that.
Sure.
And just outside of football, under Ward's tenure, we lost John Beilein from basketball.
Yep.
And I forget the guy's name for baseball, but we made that College World Series trip, and he was gone in a couple of years. So if Ward doesn't give any of us confidence in doing what's supposed to be the right thing. Now we'll see with Sherrone Moore. Hopefully he can make up for all that. But yeah, as long as Ward's the AD, unless he fixes what he's broken, then
I think y'all won despite him.
I don't know.
Yeah, look, no, we can do a whole.
So.
I'd love to do a whole segment on why they should replace Ward Manuel. All I'm saying is, when you say that at the 11th hour they finally agreed to give Jim Harbaugh what he wanted, again, Michigan couldn't ultimately give him what he wants, and that's a Super Bowl ring. And I don't think I don't even think it's about money. Yes, he will make more money in the NFL, but kudos to Jim Harbaugh. I don't think his decisions are about money. I think that this was just something that he always wanted to do. There's plenty of blame to go around for Ward Manuel, not for the other sports you mentioned, but in this Jim Harbaugh situation specifically. All I'm saying is, in this moment for Michigan fans, don't be reckless the next couple days in saying that Jim Harbaugh is going back to the NFL because Ward Manuel botched everything and because the NCAA is out to get Jim Harbaugh. Both those things may be true, but at the end of the day, the guy wants to win a Super Bowl.
Definitely. Thanks, Mike.
Appreciate it, man.
For sure. Thanks, guys.
What's up, YouTube? Hey, do me a favor if you haven't already. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn that notification bell on, and like the videos. Really helps out. We appreciate it.